The surprising thing about fast compost isn't that it requires strength, tools, or constant turning. The surprising thing is that for centuries the fastest humus was made by people who barely touched their piles at all. Farmers, settlers, and even wartime homesteaders relied on a method so simple that modern gardeners often dismiss it until they see what happens inside. Today, on Farm Logic, I'm walking you through the lazy pile trick, a method that turns ordinary kitchen waste into rich, black humus, faster than the carefully turned piles many gardeners swear by. And before we get into the mechanics, let me hook you with this. The first time I used this method, my compost went from loose scraps to a dark, sweet-smelling, humus-rich crumble in weeks, not months. No fork, no flipping, no sweating in the sun. Just a structure that mimics the natural decomposition cycles found in ancient forest floors and early agricultural settlements. If you stay with me for the next minute, I'll show you exactly how it works and how you can replicate it anywhere. The slow and steady method that actually speeds everything up. Most gardeners assume compost breaks down faster when you turn it regularly, but biology doesn't follow that rule. What speeds up decomposition is not movement, but stability. When scraps sit undisturbed, fungal networks can form, bacterial colonies can mature, and heat layers can stabilize. This is exactly what the lazy pile trick encourages. You start with a mound, not a bin, not a tumbler, but a simple heap, built in layers. The bottom layer is coarse organic material, something like dry twigs, rough stems, or shredded stems from kitchen herbs. This creates airflow from below, so the pile doesn't suffocate or become soupy. On top of that goes your kitchen waste, everything from fruit peels and vegetable scraps to crushed eggshells and stale bread can go in. The secret is depth. You aren't sprinkling scraps across your yard. You're building a thick central mass that traps heat, moisture, and microbes. The reason this works so well is because of biological zoning. In a lazy pile, 3 zones form naturally. The top remains relatively cool, perfect for molds, yeasts, and early-stage decomposers. The middle becomes warm and active, rich with bacteria responsible for breaking down sugars and starches. The core becomes hot, often surprisingly hot, because anaerobic pockets form, creating heat in the same way deep leaf piles warm up in winter. Traditional compost turning disrupts these layers. The lazy pile preserves them, letting each zone do its job with no interference. When you leave the pile alone, everything digests faster because nothing has to rebuild itself. How to build the pile so it takes off quickly. A practical example. If you have a small backyard, simply find a corner where rain won't wash the pile away. Place a base layer about the width of your arm span using dry sticks, sunflower stalks, dried stems, or even a small layer of wood chips. Then dump a week's worth of kitchen scraps right in the centre. Cover it with something dry, grass clippings that have already browned, shredded cardboard, or 1 or 2 handfuls of soil. That final soil covering introduces billions of microbes and keeps the scent down. Repeat whenever you have new scraps. Over time, you will see the mound rise like bread dough. This is good. It means heat is building. Within 2 weeks, you can dig with your hand into the side and find darkening material. Within a month, the centre will already be halfway to humus. The trick is in letting gravity and time do the mixing for you. As newly added scraps break down, they collapse into the lower layers, pushing older material deeper into the warming core. This creates a natural conveyor belt effect. While a traditional compost pile forces you to lift heavy material to keep it cycling, the lazy pile lets the pile cycle itself. Every rainstorm adds moisture, each sunny day adds warmth, and nighttime cooling pulls air into the bottom. You're tapping into natural forces instead of fighting them. Old world farmers understood this instinctively. They relied on slow, undisturbed piles because their time was better spent elsewhere. They valued results over process, and the results were crumbly, black humus, the kind that sinks into the soil like powder and holds moisture better than anything store-bought. How to harvest humus from the pile without disturbing the system. Once the pile has been growing for 2 or 3 months, you can begin pulling finished humus from the bottom edge. Just scrape back the top layer of fresher material and reach into the lower portion. You'll find material that is dark, spongy, and sweet-smelling. That's your finished product. Take only what you need and let the rest continue developing. This way, the pile becomes a permanent humus factory. You can feed it indefinitely and harvest from it indefinitely. Garden beds respond brilliantly when you side dress with this humus. Crops stand taller, soils retain water longer, and tired beds regain colour and structure. The humus works both as a nutrient source and a soil conditioner, loosening clay and anchoring sand. Why this matters for anyone who wants to garden sustainably. This method reduces waste, restores soil faster than most home systems, and requires almost no labour. It mirrors natural decomposition rather than forcing human order onto it. For small gardens, it keeps kitchen scraps local instead of sending them to a landfill. For larger gardens, it provides a steady stream of organic material without constant turning or machinery. And for survivalists, historians, and anyone who studies how past civilizations maintain fertility, it's a practical link to the methods that kept ancient fields productive for centuries. If you found this breakdown helpful and want more practical, historically rooted soil techniques, make sure to subscribe to Farm Logic and share this video with someone who's ready to level up their homestead.